It's May 17th, JLD here, and welcome to MSTR Today. In this show, we'll talk about MSTR dominating grayscale. We're also going to talk about a perpetual bull cycle, what that might look like, how MSTR is only 12% away from its all-time high close. What do you think comes next? Also, we'll talk about the change in Bitcoin ownership. This is both disturbing and exciting at the same time. I'll tell you why. Some great Michael Saylor video clips, and this video is not financial advice. But please do comment below. We didn't get to the all-time high this week. Quite sad. We wanted it by the end of close on Friday, but listen, we're here above 100,000. We're pushing forward. We're doing our thing. So let's dive on in. Hey, we're starting off today with Bitcoin Archive, who says BlackRock and Michael Saylor's strategy combined now hold 6 times more Bitcoin than Grayscale. Even at Grayscale's peak, their Bitcoin holdings were 643,000. MSTR now alone has 568,840 Bitcoin. IBIT's at 627,985. So you can see them absolutely dominating Grayscale, even at its peak. But Grayscale's current of 188, as you can see, MSTR is absolutely dominating, almost a 3x at that place. I mean, it's just very exciting to see. And then, the where is the demand going to come from is the quote that, of course, we can just now laugh at. Let's keep moving on to Chris, where he shares that John D. Rockefeller transformed Standard Oil into the most valuable company in the world by having the vision to recognize the value of oil before everyone else. Michael Saylor will transform strategy into the most valuable company in the world by having the vision to recognize the value of Bitcoin before everyone else. And not everyone, but he is definitely recognizing how to use Bitcoin in the strategy way that strategy is using it. That's perpetual oil producing machine. I just love that analogy of the crude oil refinery. Bitcoin strategy is the refinery. So let's keep marching forward. And man, I'm glad I'm on the strategy and Saylor train, and I hope you are as well. Supply Shocks has a good graphic here. Shocks shares. Good to see that MSTR have now developed Strike and Strife. Once this kicks up into gear, MSTR and Bitcoin will be unstoppable. And this is the perpetual bull market, where in the late bull market, MSTR investors will rotate some of their profits. No worries in taking profits. There's nothing shameful in taking profits into Strike and Strife. If you want 8%, 10% returns, they're de-risking from common stock into yield, and it has the Strife of the safety, which is upside. Safety and upside of the 10%. And then what happens to that? The proceeds fund MicroStrategy. Strike and Strife raise cheap capital for MSTR. The proceeds are added to the Bitcoin treasury for purchases. And MSTR stock pumps. This trades at NAV premium again. The momentum traders pile back in. And then the Bitcoin price increases because, of course, strategy is buying more Bitcoin. New institutional buying pressure. Bitcoin price surges from treasury activity. So very interesting perpetual bull market idea. I can definitely see a world where this is happening because it just makes sense. If you're at life-changing money and things seem a little frothy, there's no shame in taking a little bit off the top. Nobody went broke taking profits and rotating into Strike or Strife to see where the market is going next. We got Chris talking about strategy product comparison by volatility, risk, return, and torque. So if you start with Strife, the volatility is the lowest, the risk is the lowest, the return is the lowest. I mean, it's 10%, it's nice, but it's still the lowest, but the torque is the highest. That is what kind of torque and energy and power that strategy is able to use from Strife to buy more Bitcoin at the most accretive prices. Strike, the volatility is low, risk is low, returns low, but the torque is high. Not the highest, but it's high. The converts, these are convertible bonds. And this is why, probably Michael Saylor has been kind of laying off these a little bit. Plus, waiting for some increased implied volatility. But the volatility is moderate, risk is moderate, returns moderate, and the torque is just moderate because, these can convert into actual shares and probably will convert into shares at later dates. The equity, the volatility is high, the risk is high, the return is high, and the torque is low. It's the lowest torque of the 4 instruments that Michael Saylor has. But because the volatility being so high, it's actually right now by far the best and most opportunistic And the leverage ETFs, this is MSTX, MSTU. The volatility is super high, risk is very high, return is very high. The torque is NA because this is not connected with MSTR, so they're not able to leverage any torque off of that. And then the option's the same: the highest risk, the highest volatility, the highest return, but no torque. So interesting way to look at all of these metrics right here. Great post from Jeff Walton. Bitcoin is 5% from price discovery, and MSTR is 12% from a record close, which was $473. Two, it's consistently bashing the ATH market cap and rank, driving passive flows exponential. It's sitting on a $12 billion Q2 net income, $43 EPS. A shock the world figure will be released in August. And again, that's if, crossing our fingers, we stay above 97,000 for Bitcoin. 4, poised to get added to the S&P 500 at near record valuation. 5, holding 47% more Bitcoin on balance sheet than at the last all-time high. And I remember I was an owner of the stock at the last all-time high when we had 386 Bitcoin. Now we have 47% more at 568 and accelerating. 6, the balance sheet leverage is at record lows. It's under 14%. The credit quality of the preferred equity debt instruments is improving drastically. The free capital on the balance sheet, the $49 billion, would be the 208th largest company, right behind Ross Dress for Less, and is trading at a trailing 12-month PE ratio of 9, while the QQQ average is 35. I mean, insane. I want to just kind of end here with, which would you rather own? A company pushing out $8 million in earnings per employee or $800,000 per employee? That's comparing Apple to MSTR. MSTR strategy is $8 million in earnings per employee, while Apple is $800,000 earnings per employee. The next 6 months are why I entered this trade all in 2022, 2023. November QQQ inclusion was just a teaser. Get your tickets to the show. Don't get caught in the lobby ordering popcorn when the movie starts. So Jeff is most excited about the next 6 months, and I am too. Chris says, Michael Saylor is going to be the only person in the history of finance to open source and relentlessly broadcast his business idea and whole playbook to the entire world, explain every aspect of it meticulously in detail, and still end up owning a monopoly. And check out the Next Layer Capital. This is the change in Bitcoin ownership in 2025. Individuals have sold like absolute degens. I mean, they've sold 247,000 Bitcoin. Now, luckily, on the other side, the businesses, the funds, and others and governments have been picking up the slack and have been buying relentlessly. But guess what? This is both sad, like I shared in the intro. It's both disturbing because the individuals are giving up life-changing opportunities, in my opinion, by doing this. But at the same time, individuals are always going to be like sellers and buyers, and they're going to be scared, and they're going to be going in and out. And that's where the volatility of Bitcoin comes from. All of these purchases, there's not going to be much selling here. There's not going to be almost any selling here in the businesses, almost no selling here in the governments. I mean, there's just going to be so little selling of these. That's why the treasury strategy is going parabolic. Insane. All right. Now we've got Michael Saylor posting a great video of the kid version of this clip. So just sit back and enjoy.
The FT does this kind of light-hearted thing every year where we have a stock picking competition. And in my list of shorts, I put MicroStrategy, and I got annihilated. And what I want to do is understand what it is that I'm missing here.
Bitcoin is the one universally acknowledged commodity. If we let banks in the United States use Bitcoin and custody it and sell it and buy it and loan against it, if the United States government begins to hold it in a strategic reserve, the beneficiary will be America.
If you could talk to President Trump and say, here's the one thing I would tell you to do to ensure that America leads the way in the crypto space, what would you tell him?
I would say he's already done the first thing, which is highlight Bitcoin as a store of value, as digital gold, and put the United States support behind a strategic Bitcoin reserve. The second thing is to support the creation in law of a legitimate path for issuers in the United States to issue digital tokens, digital securities, and digital currency. Because if American companies can create those digital assets, we will become bankers to the world.
What does the future look like to you with Bitcoin, with cryptocurrency in general? Where do you see it 5, 10, or even 100 years from now?
I think big tech is going to embrace Bitcoin. They're going to let you hold your Bitcoin on your iPhone, on your Android phone. It will find its way into Microsoft software, Amazon software, Google, Apple software. I think that banks are going to embrace Bitcoin. So your bank's going to give you a loan against your Bitcoin. It'll buy Bitcoin for you. Insurance companies will start to support Bitcoin. I think families will increasingly begin to see it as their savings account. The yoga studio, the restaurant, the hotel chain, they'll be able to raise capital in order to improve their business and to innovate. And I think that sound money, that will spread through South America, Africa, Asia. It'll tread to China. So I think the future is American values, American technology, not just making America great, but also spreading economic prosperity to the entire world.
And there's a great clip of Michael Saylor coming up as soon as we get back from thanking our sponsors. Online shopping has never been easier, but this ease is new enough that we remember a time when entering all our credit card info every time we purchased something online was the norm. Luckily, we don't have to do that anymore thanks to Shopify. That's right, that purple Shop Pay button that makes it seamless to purchase online is powered by Shopify. And Shopify doesn't just make it easy to buy, it makes it incredibly easy to start a business no matter your experience. Shopify is the commerce platform behind 10% of all e-commerce in the US, and they make it super easy to get up and running with beautiful, ready-to-go templates and built-in marketing and email tools. Worried about tracking inventory, payments, and analytics? No stress. Shopify helps you manage it all from a single dashboard. And back to that iconic purple Shop Pay button, it's why Shopify has the best converting checkout on the planet. If you want to see less carts being abandoned, it's time for you to head over to Shopify. Sign up for your $1 per month trial and start selling today at shopify.com/MSTR. Go to shopify.com/MSTR, shopify.com/MSTR. So check it out. I know we're all looking to stack more Bitcoin and MSTR, and to do that, we need more fiat. So let's chat about our sponsor, ShipStation. We all know the market can seem pretty chaotic at times, but if you're in charge of order fulfillment for your business, you already understand chaos. While we might not be able to help calm the chaos in the market, ShipStation is here to help when it comes to shipping and fulfillment. I've used ShipStation to easily automate shipping to customers around the globe. My favorite part about the platform, managing orders in one simple dashboard makes an otherwise massive task feel pretty darn simple. Plus, ShipStation not only integrates with the services and selling channels you already use, it's also the fastest, most affordable way to ship products to your customers. ShipStation hooks you up with discounts up to 88% off UPS, DHL Express, and USPS rates, and up to 90% off FedEx rates. Calm the chaos of order fulfillment with the shipping software that delivers. Switch to ShipStation today. Go to shipstation.com/MSTR to sign up for your free trial, or click the pinned comment below this video. That's shipstation.com/MSTR. And thank you for supporting our sponsors that allow myself and my team to continue to produce these daily videos for you for free. Now back to the show.
Are you surprised the US hasn't yet bought Bitcoin?
I'm not surprised. I was surprised that the US has embraced Bitcoin as radically as it has over the last 6 months. I think I didn't expect nearly all the cabinet members to be so enthusiastic, or the Secretary of the Treasury. I didn't expect the strategic Bitcoin reserve, to be put in place so quickly. I didn't expect the crypto czar to declare that Bitcoin is, the one, global digital commodity in the world and is digital gold. I didn't expect the President of the United States to say never sell your Bitcoin. So those I didn't expect. I generally expect that large governments will move in a plodding, somewhat methodic, not always rational fashion, because there are just so many interests involved. And so my expectations are moderated in that regard. I think most of the aggressive action will come from small, mid-sized businesses, because they have the most to gain, the least to lose, and they can move the quickest.
But when the rhetoric has changed from the White House and we have the strategic Bitcoin reserve and all these tailwinds, I mean, you're buying pretty much every Monday. Why isn't the price at 150 or 200K?
I think we're going through a rotation right now where, lots of non-economically interested parties are rotating out of the asset, and then a new cohort of investors are entering. A lot of Bitcoin was, for whatever reason, left in the hands of governments, in the hands of lawyers, in the hands of bankruptcy trustees, like the FTX bankruptcy, and they kind of had to hold it for a year or 2 years as they're working through their process. And then when they saw this massive market rally, I think a lot of those trustees, they don't have a 10-year investor's mindset. They just thought, well, this is a good exit point to get liquidity. So I think people less committed to the long term have been taking this opportunity to exit the market, and I think a whole new class of investors are entering by way of the ETFs and by way of the Bitcoin treasury companies.
One of the things I enjoy most about talking to you or listening to you is the whole market could be in total panic, fear, anxiety about maybe the macro factors. And you always have this sense of calm about you that things will get resolved. So you're clearly not worried about things that are happening will eventually resolve these global tensions, the tariffs, and it'll be smooth sailing for Bitcoin eventually. That's the read I get.
Every single crisis recruits a new class of Bitcoin believers. There's just a delay in between the crisis and the Bitcoin rally. So, for example, in March, Bitcoin crashed with everything else down to like 4,000 or 4,500. And I started buying it in the 9,000s or the 10,000s. And I remember when Bitcoin was 10,000 and the NASDAQ was like 12,000. And then Bitcoin would rally up and rage, and then there would be a crypto crash, and it came down. And on the other hand, here we are today, and Bitcoin's like 96 or 97,000, and Nasdaq 17,000. And now we're in a big tariff crisis. And the near-term reaction is always the market cramps and everybody sells everything. But the long-term reaction is, if I had all my money invested in Bitcoin instead of invested in that company, I wouldn't have been affected by tariffs. And so what you have is a reallocation of portfolios to being more Bitcoin, less the other thing.
And there you have it, another episode of MSTR Today. And here's my receipt from yesterday's purchase. I bought a 0.533 share of MSTR at $396. Tomorrow, I'll reveal my entire portfolio, exactly where I'm sitting at. So tune in for that. And wow, it's been another great episode. I hope you enjoyed. If you did, if you appreciate the hard work that I'm putting in, that my team's putting in, hitting like and then putting a comment in the comment section below is all the thanks that I can ask for. And that's all that I do ask for. I love interacting in those comments. So let's do this. We got another great week coming up. Let's keep the FUD, that fear, the uncertainty, the doubt. Let's keep it out. Let's remember that you're the average of the 5 people that you spend the most time with. I only follow 20 people now on X because those are the only people whose opinions I actually really care about when it comes to MSTR, to strategy, to Bitcoin. And I just keep all the other fluff out of my life. And I recommend, if you're struggling, if you're having any stress around this trade, that you do something similar. So here we go, my friends. You know that I believe this path is inevitable. That's bull with a capital Bitcoin B. And like Michael Saylor says, there is no second best.
What's the second best? There is no second best.